Bryan Kohberger was just sentenced for the unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students. After years and a lot of silence, a lot of gag orders, a lot of motions, and a lot of speculation, this is over. No trial, no more games. He took a plea deal. He admitted he did it. I know some people still not believe he did it. But if not him, then who signed the plea? Or why did he sign the plea? This is where we never ever really get into any of it. If he didn't do it, why did he plead guilty? But what is the Kohberger trial? Back in 2022, Kaylee, Madison, Senior, and Ethan was all stabulated to death in their off-campus rental house in Moscow, Idaho. This, apparently, according to the police officers, was straight out of a slasher movie. Someone entered the house at night. Now, Kohberger admitted it was him, used a K-bar, and left with very few traces, especially to begin with. 2 other people who were in the house survived, and they didn't call 911 immediately. It wasn't until noon the next day before the police were alerted. And again, when they arrived, they claimed this was one of the most brutal scenes they had ever seen. And then nothing really happened for a couple of weeks. We didn't hear anything, but all of a sudden, Bryan Kohberger, who is 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, was arrested at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. He matched the car that they claim the murderer drove in. His cell phone hit tower data, and his partial DNA was found on a knife sheet at the scene. But he didn't confess. Not then, not at any time during the tons of pretrial motions and status hearings. He said nothing. His lawyers pushed really hard on every detail of the investigation. And as a lot of these big cases, there was a lot of doubt raised about the evidence in this case, especially because of the massive gag orders. Because if you have gag orders, you have an ample growing ground for conspiracy theories or alternative theories or whatever you want to call it. Doubt will arise if you don't let the sun in. I had a good friend of the channel on, talked about why she thought there were some holes in the state's case. And I can see them, but I can also see that we now have a guilty plea. He took a plea to not get unalived. He admitted in front of the judge and the world that he did it. He is giving up his right to any appeal. He agreed to spend the rest of his life in a concrete box. So again, should we believe him, or should we believe that there are someone else out there who did it? Was it because the last couple of motions his defense team filed was overturned and there was no real defense to put on? Was it because he had no way out? And if he was going to court, he would most likely have ended up with the DP. Was it because he did it? This has been an emotional roller coaster for a lot of people, more than any the families of the 4 victims. If you watched yesterday's victim impact statements, they were brutal, they were raw, and some would even say maybe a little bit over the line with the language allowed to be spoken in them. Um, we don't have it in Denmark. I'm not a fan of victim impact statements. I know in America you see it as the last way for the family to kind of get their last say in it. But I just find it weird that how much you grieve should have a influence on the law. The law is the law. But this is your way. And when we saw those impact statements yesterday, I understood why Mo had to put on kitten videos all the time. We can never imagine how hard this has been for the family. Katie Gonsalves' family called him pure evil and said, "You hunted our daughter. You didn't just unalive her. You made sure we would never be whole again." Ethan's family described the pain of losing their son, a brother, a twin, saying, "You didn't just steal one life, you shattered an entire future." Sina's family said, "She had so much life left to live, and that's nothing you'd suffer in prison will come close to what you took." And Madison's family said, "He wasn't a mastermind or a misunderstood academic. He was just a coward." This isn't just emotional statements because they're angry. These are also reminders. Reminders that we maybe sometimes as YouTube grifters needs to remind ourselves about, that when we cover a case, we go in, we go out, move on, make a little fun. But behind every headline, there is victims, and there's a family that has to live when we move on. I think by him taking a plea, and they don't have to sit every day in court and be reminded of what he did to them, will probably help them heal as much as you can in a situation like this faster. Will it ever go away? No. But I think instead of having to listen to police officers talk about how horrible it was to find these people, listen to MEs talk about what he did to them, maybe even be shown pictures in court. When the dust settles, when time moves on a little bit, this might be the best for the families. I know especially the Gonsalves family was irate that he took the plea deal. They had some more choice words than I mentioned today, especially the sister. But I think the best thing for the families are not to be dragged through this, not to be dragged back to court every 4 or 5 years for another appeal. If you had the DP, they can go on forever. The DP doesn't happen. They don't old yell at him outside of the courthouse. That's years and years and years of appeal and motions and filings. So even though we all kind of wanted to see what they had on him, I think for the families, in due time, this will be the best thing. I know, because I can see it in my chat, because Turtle Boy and I talked about it yesterday, people will still say he didn't do it. This is a setup. He was coerced, because something doesn't add up. And yes, there's a lot of things where you can kind of point your fingers, but that's also because we haven't gone through the court. We haven't been doing the trial. We haven't heard the evidence. The police reports were released yesterday. Recovery Addict did a great reading of them. You should go check them out. There's been so many gag orders placed on this, so we don't know all the evidence. In time, I hope we will get access to most of the evidence so people can see why the state believed he was the one who did it. But you also have to accept if he didn't do it, he had every reason to fight this to the bitter end in court, but he didn't. He admitted he did it. He had a legal team, he had time, but he took the plea. So for Bryan Kohberger, this is final. He will never walk free again. His life is gone. He will have to stay in prison for the rest of it. I wish that we will have enough insight so we can lay the, well, he got coerced into doing this to bed. Because we don't need every case out there ending up in, well, they claim they did it, but we clearly know they didn't. Because there's no hard evidence saying someone else did it. They have his cell tower, they have his car, he turned off his phone. This is just what we heard so far. We heard the state talk about the evidence at the plea hearing. It's not all the evidence. The defense must have known we couldn't win this, or else he wouldn't have taken the plea. And he didn't want to face a firing squad. He will never walk free again. Now, hopefully, the families can heal.